begin with, I know that in your CPEP Day guide, you have all kinds of tools, you have drills and stuff like that, but this mousetrap, the basic kit can be built without using any tools, okay? But I want to caution you that the CPEP Day guide and the sheet says the exact same thing. The only thing that you have to move, the only thing that you have to use from this kit is the mousetrap that's supplied, which is a Tomcat. A couple years ago, I think, when you went to your workshop, Diane, it was a Victor. The good thing is the Tomcat, we can do a test. I've actually tested it with the kids, and we can do that test here today. You can test the Tomcat in comparison to the Victor, and the Tomcat is a much stronger spring. Okay, and remember that spring is actually going to be the engine for your cars. Okay, so that's a concept. Everyone has to use that same spring, and then the other catch is the drive wheels. You have to use the standard 4 3/4 inch CDs. Now I say the drive wheel because the drive wheel could either be the rear of the car or the front of the car. Okay, and Bruce, if you wouldn't mind, I'll just take those two actually. Here's a good example where this student decided to use 3 instead of 4 CDs. And then this student totally didn't use anything in the kit, didn't use these rails, didn't use the top support, just used the mousetrap base, a little piece of wood, and a different set of wheels for the front. Okay, that's completely fine as long as the drive wheels are driven with the standard CDs, and of course they can be lightened as you can see here. And this mousetrap spring can't be modified. You can't add 2 of them. You can't try to add another line. Diane? Okay. So there's a lot of latitude as far as what type of car that you can build. In the CPEP Day guide this year, there is no limit on the size. So this is the official track that we're going to use, and I believe that's about 18 inches wide. And as long as your car is no longer, or your student's car, I should say, is no longer, if it'll fit on that track, we can test it. Okay. But I don't see any advantage of getting too huge, because the other thing, as far as the rolling chassis, the other biggest factor will be the weight of your mousetrap car. If you have something that's as heavy as a brick, it's not going to get down that track very fast. But by the same token, if you have a real lightweight car, because I've had some students that try to make the whole car out of the pink styrofoam like we use on the boats, if you don't have enough weight for traction at the rear wheels, you're going to lose all that energy that you have at the beginning. Okay, so the first thing that I would recommend doing is if you open up your kit, you're going to notice that these the side rails, they're taped together. That's a trick that we do because I actually have the kids drill the holes here. If you tape the 2 pieces together, you drill the holes at the same time, then these the holes are perfectly lined up. Okay, and then this little notch that shows you where to put that motor mount, or I should say that upper cross support. And you'll notice once you put it together, if I untape it, sometimes getting this masking tape off is a pain. Just, I would caution your students to make sure they don't flip these pieces around. They have to have that notch, lined up at the, at the same end. Okay, because kids have come back to me, and guess what? They have one notch over here, and they flip this piece over. And of course, if you do it that way, it's not going to work. Okay, so the notch is a neat way. They don't even have to measure. So if they were to actually put this together, and I have the hot glue guns already plugged in, so they should work pretty well. Okay, what you really want to do is glue it like this. And of course, you're going to want to try to have these pieces nice and parallel, right? You wouldn't want one really crooked. Okay, and these could be assembled. I know you don't get wood glue in your standard CPEP toolbox, but you can use wood glue or hot glue. Hot glue's fine, but you know how if kids aren't really careful, what I would do is I'd put a bead on there. If they're going to put the glue on the top, I would stick it down right away. If not, what's going to happen? You're going to have a space as the hot glue starts to set up. You'll have a space, and if this rail is lower than the other, then the axle may not be nice and straight. Okay?
Where's the end ketchup?
You see the little notch here?
Yeah.
Yep. So what I would do is I would put it right at the end. It doesn't matter if you put it towards the back of the notch or the front, but as long as you put it on there, they'll be lined up. And this will automatically
So that
give
gives
you,
them to line it up.
it
Yeah.
lines it up for the axle, so these things can't be misaligned.
So you can use wood Elmer's.
You can use Elmer's wood glue or the hot glue. I brought the hot glue guns here because I figured that's probably what most of the students are going to use. Okay, but you would line it up like that. And then if you look, you would have to measure, but this is not centered. This plate's not centered, so depending on the length of the lever arm, and before you actually take apart the mousetrap and change the length of the lever arm, I want you to make a rolling chassis first. Then I'm going to draw some pictures of the different kind of levers on the board, and that'll help you decide how long you want to have that lever arm. Okay? So any questions so far? No? All right. So I would go to the back of the room, and like I said, put a bead of glue on here, and try to make sure it's nice and parallel at the edge, and line up with that notch. Glue that. Okay, and then I'm going to put the other one on. Which I think is so strong, I think it would definitely pull out these staples. If you can. Let's see if you take.
They can't modify the mousetrap in any way, right? Except
They could cut it down, sure, as long as. The protractor there, but you see how this barely, like if they're bringing it up to 90 degrees, that's not even a pound.
Oh, yeah.
So this one you could actually do with this spring scale. Yeah, so it's a maybe 1.25. But the Tomcat, if you try it with this spring scale, just over 2, which is huge on the mousetrap as far as performance. Get them to do some worksheets before they actually start building and putting that mousetrap on the car as far as helping them decide. What I would do now is maybe just reinforce it. Yeah, because if not, right? Yeah, I would if it wobbles a little bit, I would reinforce it.
I was going to say, add it. I
Yeah.
didn't know whether that was.
How about yours, Cheryl?
No.
Nice and solid?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. It's good. You only need one. So I would take one straw, cut it about in the center. Yes, nice and round. I would put the dowel, because you have 2 dowels in there. Okay, I'd slip the dowel in the straw. And then put that whole assembly into the chassis. Oh, yeah. I'm so used to it because it's maybe it is nice and snack it out. Put it back in the box.
Well, you came up with this new design?
Mm-hmm. For complaints, yeah, I'll give you a number to call.
Yeah.
So far, it's
Won't be my
Meredith Cap.
No, Sandy. Okay, so now with that, the wooden dowel in it, that's going to serve 2 purposes. Number one, without that, sometimes when the kids put the straws in there, they might kind of get caught up on the edge. But when you go to glue it, if you hold it just with one finger, that's what I would do. Okay, and I'd put a bead of glue here, on either side. Not too much glue, but glue it on. I would do inside and outside, the bottom and the top. Okay, or even put a nice bead around the edge there. Okay, while the wooden dowel is in there, because without that, the straw, if it gets too hot, it's going to collapse. It's going to melt a little bit. Okay, so I would do that next.
Have you shut out anything?